Okay, everyone, we are live on YouTube and UGTV will be up and running in about 45 seconds. And we're live on YouTube. UGTV and YouTube, sorry.
Mr. Deichler, this is Melissa Bynum. I see our commissioners, but not our BPU rep. Did we have notice that Tom wouldn't be here?
Commissioner, I didn't see a notice that Tom Groneman wouldn't be available, so I was looking for him here too. That's why I was waiting on, but I don't have any publications on him.
Okay, let me, and he's not over in the attendees side. So we will wait just a minute and see if he is able to join before we start.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Sure, thank you.
I just called Groneman. He didn't answer the phone.
Okay, thank you. I think since by my clock it's 5:02, we will go ahead and get underway. And certainly if he comes on, we will promote him over to panelists. So
Commissioner, can I ask a question real quick to Commissioner Kane? I see there's a number in the attendee side that starts at 620. We thought it might be Tom, and I tried to call. There was no answer as well. Do you know if that's his number at the front end?
It is not.
Okay, I didn't think so. I just want to make sure. That's all. So, okay, sorry, Commissioner. I just want to double check.
okay, no problem. Thank you very
again.
much. All right, so with that, then we'll go ahead and get our meeting underway. And welcome everyone to Public Works and Safety Standing Committee for March 22nd, 2021. My name's Commissioner Melissa Bynum, and before I call our meeting to order, I need to announce that due to COVID-19, some committee members, staff, and public are attending remotely by Zoom, and some are on site. All participants that are joining by phone should mute their phones when not speaking to avoid background noise. And during the meeting, committee members, please make sure you announce yourself by name and title when you speak so that the public observing knows who is speaking. And this is critical given the number of remote participants we have. It's also guidance from our Kansas Attorney General. Also, due to COVID-19 requirements, in-person public comment has been suspended unless otherwise required by law. The public is allowed to participate by Zoom and submit comments by email prior to our meeting, and those are included in the recording of our meeting. And now I will call our meeting of Public Works and Safety Standing Committee to order. Could the clerk please call the roll?
Roll call, Groneman, Philbrook,
Here.
Kane,
Here?
Ramirez,
Here.
Markley,
Here.
Bynum.
Here. Thank you. We don't have any revisions on our agenda tonight. And our first item of business is minutes from December 14.
Move to approve.
Have a motion? Is there a second? Was it Commissioner Kane?
Yeah, that's
Oh,
right.
Ramirez, I'm sorry. Motion by Commissioner Markley, a second by Commissioner Ramirez. Roll call, please.
Roll call, Philbrook, Philbrook,
Aye.
Kane,
Aye.
Ramirez,
Aye.
Markley,
Aye.
Bynum.
Aye, thank you very much.
Is anybody else hearing like a weird echo from Mitzi? Like, I'm
Yeah.
not sure what it is, but I'm hearing you, but I'm kind of hearing you twice.
You just have a slight echo, Mitzi. But it's not anything that needs to slow us down, but maybe
Is
there's
this better?
something.
Mitzi, adjust your volume down just a bit. Let's see.
Okay.
I'm hearing it as well.
I probably need to go to the other desk.
Maybe.
Sometimes if there's two mics in the area, your primary one will pick you up, but there's a second mic in the room that's also picking you up. That might be happening.
Yeah, Mitzi, just stay back from it a bit and talk just a bit lower. We can still hear you. I think it'll be fine to get through this, and then we'll try to adjust it before the second one.
Sounds good.
Second
Thank
meeting.
you so much.
Thank you,
We
Commissioner.
do have 3 items on our Public Works and Safety Committee agenda this evening. The first one is a grant with our police department through the U.S. Department of Justice. And do I see Deputy Chief Vivian? Is that correct?
Yes,
Here to lay out this grant for us, and I will turn it over to you, sir.
okay, yeah, so this grant that we'd like to apply for, it's through the Office of Violence Against Women. It's a $500,000 grant, although it could double to $1 million. There's no match to it. What we'd like to do with the award is create a rapid response teams to all sexual assaults that occur in our city. One of the things that we're trying to implement is trauma-informed care and trauma-informed interviewing of our sexual assault victims. And the best practice right now is to have a team that responds immediately. We're looking to train 50 officers so that we'll have plenty of officers out in the field that will respond initially, but then the team of detectives and CSI personnel that are trained with this additional trauma-informed care. There's 3 steps to it. They go through all 3 steps of the training and create this team that will, it'll comprise social service people and somebody from the district attorney's office. So, it doesn't matter what, time of day it happens. If it happens at 2 o'clock in the morning, the team, they'll be called out in the middle of the night and they'll respond. And the basic premise behind it is just to start the trauma-informed care at the earliest stage of a victim meeting with law enforcement, because we have many victims that are hesitant to speak with police and speak with law enforcement, and it's sometimes it's an uncomfortable setting that we have as far as our patrol cars, and it's kind of a sterile environment. So there's a lot of equipment that would need to be purchased with these funds to get that team up and running. We don't need to add any personnel to it. It's really just the inception of getting the team started with the equipment and resources that they need. And then the second component of that is the OVW. So it's one of the strongest things that we can do is, solve the crime and hold the offender accountable. And with the digital forensics, with cell phones approaching, 1 terabyte of information, that's, an unbelievable amount of information for our detectives to sort through. With the equipment that they have now, they pretty much have to do it manually. It'll download, but then it's scrolling through photos. And there is equipment out there, program out there that we can hook up 5 terabytes of data to this program. And what would take hours and hours of scrolling through photos and videos looking for somebody in a red shirt, we can type in red shirt and it's populating photos of people in red shirts from the data on the phones. So it's transformative technology that's out there, but obviously it's not cheap. So that's where the grant comes in. But that's just kind of the grant in a nutshell, is just trying to, I guess, in a way, just say that we're wanting to treat our victims, as best we can, and to give them the most, comfortable situation that we can help them with, and, an obvious, terrible time for them. So that's where we're looking to go with this grant. And if anybody has any questions, I'm certainly here.
Deputy Vivian, it's Commissioner Bynum. I have a couple of questions, and I see Commissioner Philbrook with her hand up, so we'll go to her also. The estimated time frame for when you think the grant might be awarded?
The grant will be awarded by the end of October of this year.
Excellent. And then how long, what would be the grant period?
4 years.
Oh, fantastic. So what is there a match required, local match?
No, none.
And what is the circumstance under which there's a possibility of almost doubling the award amount?
It's just a request that we need to make. We just have to provide the data on why we feel that we're worthy of receiving the additional 500,000. They have the OVW has the discretion to award that amount, and I think we can do that with our the data that we have on the number of crimes and the information that we get as far as being, we're kind of a hub for America. We have the I-70 corridor and the I-35 corridor, and a big portion of this, the sexual assaults that will, that come with this is due to human trafficking. And so we're looking at having a human trafficking team, in conjunction that will also do the sexual assaults that occur in our city, but also be the only team in Kansas. We'll be the only department in Kansas that has investigators dedicated solely to human trafficking and the sexual assaults that go along with that. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of the route that we're going.
That's fantastic. Just one final quick question from me. Do you have the data collection models in place now to know within a year's time of a grant award that it's having an impact on solving the crimes?
Yeah, we have our LERMS, our law enforcement remote management system. That's how we'll track it. I will tell you that OVW says the first year will be training. So we'll be doing 12 months of training to get everybody up to speed on the trauma-informed care. So we probably won't see results actually until probably the end of year 2.
Okay, thank you very much. Commissioner Philbrook?
So to follow up on Commissioner Bynum's questions is additional software that we're going to get. I was reading, on this, that is this what allows the folks to stay up to date on what's happening with their or progress with their case, and everybody can stay up to date and know what's going on, so they know it's not getting lost in the shuffle?
Yeah, that's part of it. That will be our online portal for our victims through our department website.
Okay.
So they'll be able to log in, from the comfort of their own home, at the time of their choosing, and see where the investigation is, with their case. Sometimes we have trouble once we start talking to a victim and working up a case. They'll become hesitant to stay in touch with us for, probably a multitude of reasons. But if this is another way that we can engage with them and, to let them know that, hey, we're still out there, check in with us, through the portal. If you're not comfortable talking to us, maybe we can do it through direct messaging and those types of things. So yes, that is a component of it.
Okay, so some of the new software that we're getting to be able to do this, did I hear you right, that we're going to be getting some more software to be able to do some of this?
That's what we're hoping for, yes.
Okay, so that software, once we get it, is it ours or is it a yearly payout to keep that software in place? What's going on with that?
Yeah, so there is a licensing fee with it, which renews annually. So that's built into the grant, at least for the 4 years. And that gets us to the 4-year mark. And then at that point, we'll kind of have to see where we go.
Well, so, somebody's got to pay for it in 4 years. So I'm just, guess at some time, sir, if you would, kind of give us an idea of how much it costs per year. Not that we wouldn't pay it, but
Right.
to kind of give us an idea after that. Okay.
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner. Other comments or questions from our committee members? I don't see any. And earlier, Merle Bland, I saw your hand raised. Did you have a public comment or question?
No, not on this issue.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, appreciate that.
Commissioner Mike Kane, move for approval.
Markley,
All right, we have a motion and a second for approval on this item. Roll call. Before I do that, I should ask the clerk if we received any written comments from the public on this item.
No, we have not received any written comments.
Okay, thank you so much. So now I will ask for roll call on the item.
Roll call, Philbrook,
Aye.
Kane,
Aye.
Ramirez,
Aye.
Markley,
aye.
Bynum.
Aye. Thank you, sir, very much for the presentation. Next item is an ordinance relating to our park hours and activities. Angel, are you with us?
Yes, Commissioner, I am. Are you able to hear me?
I am. Thank you so much. Angel Obert is an Assistant Parks Director and will walk us through this parks hours and activities item.
Thank you. I've actually got James Bain, Assistant Counsel, here on the line. He's actually going to kind of explain this item and what it entails.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you. So this first parks item, it is an ordinance that amends just 4 sections of our code. And the idea was to bring our code into consistency with the new regulations that we hope are passed tonight. So the 4 sections were the section about park hours, giving the parks director the authority to set park hours. The ordinance about digging, you'll see in the regulations, we have some changes to the digging rules, and so that needed to be reflected in the code. The third change to the code was exceptions for having archery equipment in the park if you are traversing to and from the archery range. And finally, clarified that there are exceptions for which camping can take place, and those exceptions are outlined fully in the regulations that we hope will be passed tonight. So these 4 code changes are just bringing our ordinances in consistency with the regulations.
So, Mr. Bain, I know that the next item is some of our regulations, correct?
Yes, that's right.
And that we have some slides that will be presented to go along with that. So I guess my question is truly a legal item. Should we be seeing that item before we vote to adopt ordinance changes that involve the parks and rec regulations that are in the next item?
Commissioner, this is Misty Brown, Deputy Chief Counsel. I think that's an excellent question as we go through it here. I think it would be appropriate to maybe table this discussion after you address the questions and then look at the changes to the regulations on item 2. And assuming that passes, then we could come back here and have the ordinance match the regulation changes. But I don't think there's one way that you have to do it. I think you could move to the third item if you like, and it seems to make sense.
I think that since item 3 is a resolution that amends regulations, and some of those are codified, if I'm not mistaken, within this ordinance, I'd rather hear the presentation on item 3, and especially if there are, public comments we need to hear, and then come back and vote item 2, as long as you don't see a reason not to do that.
No, I don't think so, Commissioner. I think that would make sense. It would be a shame to pass an ordinance changing the code to match regulations that you might not choose to change.
Okay, let's do that if we don't mind. So for the moment, we will temporarily hold to the side item 2's vote and comments, and proceed to the item 3 Parks and Rec regulations presentation. And then probably we will have our committee comments, questions, and any comments from the public, vote the resolution, and then return back to the ordinance. So Angel and James, go ahead and take us, and Jack, if he's here to present, go ahead and take us forward to item 3 with the slides and the regulations, and then we'll circle back around and adopt the ordinance changes.
Excellent. Sounds good. Let me pull this presentation up. Just give me 1 second.
And just to stop there momentarily, Mr. Bland, I see your hand, and we will hear from you here as soon as we see these slides.
Is everybody able to see this presentation? Thank you, Commissioner.
Yes.
Awesome. So yes, what we have before you tonight is the Parks and Recreation Code of Regulations. And this is something that we've been working on for a little over a year. James and I were talking about this. And so it's been a team effort. We've been working closely with legal and James and his team, and Jack and our team as well. And really what we identified is we really needed to update our code of regulations just to make sure that we were consistent with, surrounding area rules and regulations, and also that ours were up to date within our parks and recreation facilities. So I'm actually going to hand this slide over to James so he can provide a little bit more background on, where we are and what we're doing here.
Thank you, Angel. So commissioners, the Kansas statute 19-2803A gives the power to write and approve rules and regulations of park operations to the Board of County Commissioners. In our charter ordinances, we also add in the step that the rules and regulations need to go through the Parks Board. And then the commission will have the power to adopt those recommendations of the Parks Board or reject those recommendations. And so complying with that charter ordinance, these regulations were taken to the Parks Board on December 9th. The Parks Board voted 8-0 to recommend approval of the regulations that you have before you tonight.
Thanks, James. So the next few slides we'll just walk you through. I just wanted to highlight basically some of the larger changes that were being made to the Code of Regulations. And the first one that we have here is the dog slips. We did take this before standing committee on January 25th. And then, after a larger conversation, we are advised to kind of package this into the Code of Regulations and take it through for approval within our Code of Regulations. So at that time, we did get a vote. It was a 6-0 vote to restrict future rental agreement of Wyandotte County lake boat dock slips to Wyandotte County residents only. And also at that time, non-residents that currently have dock slips, they are allowed to retain their rental agreement, but fees will increase by 25% in 2022. So that is something that we have added in the Code of Regulations, and those are the main highlights for this policy. Next, we have e-bikes. So e-bikes is kind of a new recreation and sport that's been taking place. And before we went through these ordinances, we didn't have one. So it's pretty new. But this policy, the proposed regulation mirrors those used in Kansas state parks, which sets standards for where e-bikes can be driven in maximum speeds. So I've kind of taken a snapshot of what you'll see in our Code of Regulations. The big items here to make note of is that the policy does classify 3 different classes of e-bikes. So you see this picture here, an e-bike. There's really 2 options. One provides assistance only while pedaling, and then there's another option where you can control the bike with or without pedaling. So this policy really breaks it down to your miles per hour. So, there are e-bikes that go 20 miles per hour, and then the class 3, some of those e-bikes will reach 28 miles per hour. And you'll note in the policy that a big thing to know here is the class 3 e-bikes are only allowed on roadways and designed bike lanes. So that's something new that we'll be adding to the Code of Regulations. Next, we have drones. This was also something that we did not have. And of course, technology is always evolving. And so this was something that James also pointed out and identified that we should definitely encompass in our Code of Regulations. So drone operators will be limited to flying only at Wyandotte County Park after acquiring a permit from UG Parks and Recreation, and then also showing proof of insurance. We did previously have a small aviation policy, but it didn't really require like the proof of insurance and then also obtaining that permit. So that's another change that you can look for within our Code of Regulations. Next, we have metal detecting. So this was in there, but we just kind of updated the language in here. And so we thought it was really important. And after reviewing other metro areas that we wanted to require a permit for digging. And so as you'll see, that'll restrict the use of metal detectors unless a permit is obtained. It'll prohibit digging within designated areas such as soccer, baseball fields, archery range, near certain structures or in areas with irrigation. And obviously the permit is to just make us aware of where, this digging might be taking place. That way, we're not allowing digging to be taking place and interfering with our irrigation or hitting any sort of water lines or whatever have you. And then lastly, on the park security, so this was already in the Code of Regulations, but we thought it was important to add language that gave the Wyandotte County Sheriff's Department the ability to close parks in the event of an emergency. A good example of this, and it's something that we've been working with them in years past. We just thought it was necessary to have written in the Code of Regulations. Is, for example, say, we have inclement weather and Wyandotte County lake roads, can get pretty bad at times. So the Sheriff Department in the past has made that call to close down the lake for however long it takes our crews to be able to get out there and safely clean and shovel off the snow on the roads to make it safe for the public. And so this one really isn't anything new that we've been doing. We just thought it would be good to have that language added to this policy in the Code of Regulations. So with that being said, like James said, that these were just some of the more major additions and changes that were made to the overall Code of Regulations. And so tonight we are looking for a vote to approve these updated changes.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there comments or questions from our committee members? Christian Ramirez, please go ahead.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Angel, James, and Jack for the presentation and for all the hard work on this. Angel, you may have answered this, but for more clarification for myself, when it pertains to digging, what would we allow a permit for? Like, what specific purposes would we allow that to happen in one of the parks?
Are you saying like to what extent? Because technically, like, and Jack, you can jump in here too, but digging and metal detecting, it's more so, you know, using the metal detector within our parks. The digging instruments, as you can see here under section 2.2.8, kind of identifies what those are limited to: ice picks, screwdrivers, that are other probes not exceeding 6 inches in width and 8 inches in length.
Okay. Okay, that I did miss that, so sorry about that.
No worries.
I was just curious of like what events would someone want to dig? And so I should have kept on reading, so thank you.
It's not a request we get often, so I don't know if Jack's had any of those, but I don't know that I've heard of any since I've been here. The metal detecting we do
we've had
get.
several metal detector people digging on our soccer fields, so this is a big reason why that's put in there.
I see. That's helpful.
Okay, thank you for that.
All right. And anyone else on the committee have a comment or question? If not,
why don't we open it to the public first and then we can talk?
Absolutely. We can go to Mr. Merle Bland. I see your hand up. Are you able to unmute and speak with us?
Yeah, I don't know why that keeps coming up. I'm
okay.
I apologize. Probably because I don't know what I'm doing, but
that's okay. You're in good company. So you don't have a comment on this item?
No.
Okay, thank you very much. And okay, Commissioner Kane, anything from you?
Well, first of all, I was at the lake opening day. The staff was phenomenal. The sheriff's department did a really good job. Everything went real well. And I know you guys worked your tail off for that. So we much appreciate that. And especially with this added language in there, that'll make things easier for everyone. So I'd like to make a motion for approval.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second, Ramirez.
Thank you very much. So we have a motion and a second for approval on the resolution amending Parks and Rec Code of Regulations. If I could have roll call, please.
Roll call. Philbrook.
Aye.
Kane.
Aye.
Ramirez.
Aye.
Markley.
Aye.
Bynum.
Aye. Thank you. And now we'll swing back to item 2, the ordinance. If there's any other comments or questions on the ordinance changes.
Commissioner Mike Kane, move for approval.
Markley.
Thank you. And Markley with a second. Did I hear that correctly?
Yep.
Thank you very much. And roll call on this motion, please.
Roll call. Philbrook.
Aye.
Kane.
Aye.
Ramirez.
Aye.
Markley.
Aye.
Bynum.
Aye. Thank you all very much for all the work you put into that. I really appreciate it. That is the end of our Public Works and Safety Standing Committee meeting. I thank you for being here. We are adjourned in that capacity. I will turn this over to Commissioner Markley for Administration and Human Services.
All right, thank you very much. Before I call this meeting to order, I want to publicly announce that due to COVID-19, some committee members, staff, and the public are attending remotely via Zoom, as well as on site. All participants joining by phone should mute their phones when not speaking to avoid background noise. During the meeting, please make sure you announce yourself by name and title every time you speak so the public that is observing knows who is speaking. This is critical given the number of remote participants and is current guidance from the Kansas Attorney General. Due to COVID-19 requirements, in-person public comment has been suspended unless otherwise required by law. The public is allowed to participate by Zoom or submit comments by email prior to the meeting, and those comments will be included in the record of this meeting. I will now call this meeting of the Administration and Human Services Standing Committee to order. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Roll call, Philbrook,
Here.
Kane,
Here.
Ramirez,
Here.
Bynum,
Here.
Markley.
Here. We do have a revision to tonight's agenda. Item number 3 has been added, which is the COVID Expanding Infrastructure Grant. Staff has requested that this item be fast tracked to the March 25th full commission meeting. So we're going to hear it tonight, and then we're going to fast track it to the March 25th meeting. There are no minutes to approve this evening, so we will move right on to item number 1, which is the fee schedule item. We have 3 items tonight. Item number 1 is a presentation of the Unified Government's 2021 Comprehensive Fee Schedule, and Kathleen is here to present. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Kathleen Von Atchen, the Chief Financial Officer, and every year we present the Comprehensive Annual Fee Schedule. This is a information only agenda item. The purpose of this fee schedule is to provide the public with a complete list of all the fees. And I'm going to share my screen now. I don't know what happened there. All right, we brought this to your attention 2 months ago, and it was a preliminary review of the fee schedule, and this is the finalized presentation or the finalized schedule. So as I mentioned, the purpose of the fee schedule is to provide improved transparency to residents, but the fees themselves relate to recovering the cost of the services provided. So that's one of the goals. Most of the fees don't recover all the costs, but some of them actually do recover all of the costs. It just depends on which fee we're looking at. Also, by charging fees for specific services, we hope that it will diminish the impact on property tax payers. All right, so this fee schedule has a phased approach for annual incremental fee adjustments. And by doing that, we need to identify the cost of the specific services and then determine what level of recovery is expected by the administration and the elected body. And then we also compare these fees with neighboring communities. And then we also are mindful of the socioeconomics of our own community. And then in addition, which is a particular interest for this schedule tonight, is that we've incorporated an annual cost of living increase to allow for the fee to grow over time to keep up with the cost of the services. So just as a reminder, one of the objectives from our priority-based budgeting revenue objective is that we seek to increase the level of fee revenue that we collect in order to meet one of our PBB goals. As you can see here, the goal is to try to raise our fee collection level by 1.5 million over a 4-year period. So by 2024, that's the purpose. That's one of the objectives within PBB. Of course, PBB also has other objectives, which are more on the expenditure side. So just to give you a little bit of context, in the past, we've collected roughly $19 million in fees. This does not include sewer or stormwater or residential trash collections, which are fees that are set as part of the budget process. And Unfortunately, during 2020, due to COVID, the level of fees we collected dropped pretty dramatically, down to 19, it was a 19% reduction. And you can see where the fees landed in 2020. For example, charges for services by category were 9.3 million compared with 11 million in the prior year. In 2021, we anticipate these fees bumping back up, totaling 18.5 million in 2021. That's still not quite where we were collecting at the level we were collecting in 2019, but it does show that we anticipate coming back to pre-COVID levels, although not entirely. So as I mentioned, the PBB process, we're hoping to collect additional fee revenue very incrementally or in a phased approach. So this is an example of how our future fees could increase in order to meet that goal. So this year for 2021, we're anticipating an increase, in fee collections to 18.5 million. For 2022, if we were to increase all the fees by say 2.5%, that would bring us to 19 and then 19.5, and then it basically 2.5% generates about $500,000 in fees. So this additional fee revenue would meet the PBB objective that we have. So I am presenting in the packet. There's actually a comprehensive fee schedule. It's since we published the packet for 2 weeks ago for this committee, there's just a few tiny little tweaks that we encountered in our conversations with departments. So when I say finalized fee schedule, I just wanted you to know there's just a few little tweaks that we're going to be making, and I'll point those out as I go through the slides. But generally speaking, many of the departments are going to not have any changes to their fees, and much of it is due because of COVID and consideration of the economic circumstances that our residents are facing. There, a whole other set of departments have some cost of living adjustments, and then also some adjustments that were requested by the departments themselves. And then lastly, the Parks and Recreation fees and the golf department, those are all fees that have been previously discussed in the prior year. So we're just continuing with the second year of that phased approach plan. So since we met 2 months ago with you and presented the preliminary fee schedule, we've incorporated the feedback that we got from you, and then we also conducted a final review with our departments, and then we presented all of those final adjustments to our county administrator, and our legal department also took a very close look at all the fees too. So now I'm going to get into each department and what is in the fee schedule. So the first two slides are, or this slide, or the first few slides here are the departments that have cost of living adjustments. So so the appraiser's office, and under each department, there's kind of a general listing of the type or category under each department, what kind of fee gets charged, with a note on what occurred. So under the appraiser's office, we left the fees were increased for cost of living, and most of those were, their fees are basically for research and for copies and maps, all right? And those were all increased in order to allow for cost of living adjustment. So by the way, any staff time that is charged because the staff needs to go and research information that is requested by the public, we have made adjustments across all the departments except the UG clerk to include not only the hourly rate of that personnel, but also the relative cost of the benefits for that FTE. So before it was just the salary component, and it didn't include costs that the unified government incurs because of benefits and and pensions. So we have included in this fee schedule a blended rate rather than an hourly rate for research time. Okay. So that's incorporated in here. The Area Agency on Aging, it's actually not a fee, it's a suggested donation. We have increased it in all these areas by about 50 cents, but it's just a suggested donation. It's presented here just for informational purposes. The fire department, we only adjusted the fire reports and inspections and the school inspections based on what I spoke of earlier with the staff time, and then, incorporating that cost of living adjustment. All of the other fees for EMS are being held at the same level as 2020. And so I did want to point out that we were taking a little closer look at the fee schedule that I provided you 2 weeks ago, and we noticed a little glitch, and we meant to leave these at 2020, but they were increased inadvertently. So those are going to be brought back down to 2020 levels. So we apologize for that error. So, but those are, the intent is to leave them all at the 2020 level. For the police department, we've only increased the records and documentation or document copying fees and the security guard permit. All the other fees have been left the same as they were in 2020. And in most recent conversations with the animal control division, there are a couple of fees that they are looking to adjust. And so when that happens, we will incorporate that into the fee listing. They can be adjusted administratively. So, but as we have it now, it's the same as 2020. For the sheriff's office, the only adjustments that were made were an increase to $150 per day for juvenile center housing fees. This is a fee that's charged to other jurisdictions and by contract. So that's where that adjustment. I think it was 130 before, and now it's 150. And then records and reports were adjusted for cost of living. The other fees that are charged by the sheriff's office were left the same as in 2020. All right, so the next few slides here are actually other adjustments plus cost of living. The delinquent real estate tax, which here you can see a tax sale. Here's a picture of a tax sale. We have increased those by cost of living, but the core cost we adjusted upwards to $125. Okay. On the economic development side, we have adjusted most of the fees in this area to basically recover more of the costs related to IRB origination fees that developers pay to us for issuing IRBs in order to keep up with the cost of providing that service to them. We've also added some categories to these. So there was a multifamily IRB category added, which was not there before. And then in the land bank section, we adjusted the land bank fee for residential from $50 to $100. And then we added a commercial section for commercial IRBs. In public works, most of those fees, as I mentioned before, relate to stormwater and to residential solid waste collection fees. Those were all increased per the 2021 budget resolution. So those are listed for informational purposes. We also increased the development fees by a cost of living adjustment and added a category for no permit. So
Kathleen, I just noticed Commissioner Bynum has her hand up, and it may have been up for a while now, and I just noticed. But Commissioner Bynum, do you have a question you'd like to ask before we get further down the line here?
Well, sure. Thanks. You had a slide, several slides back, showing the decline in permit fees that came in during 2020 due to COVID, and
okay.
And I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Permits and licenses down. I'm trying to see the actual dollar amount.
It was down. It was down about. Well, it came in at $2.1 million permits and licenses.
It was down about 300,000.
Yes, that's right.
19 to 20. I find that interesting. And what I was going to point out was that when our county appraiser provided for us the 2021 annual valuation update earlier this year, she specifically pointed out to us that we all know that 2020 was a very active year for home improvement, but nearly half of all the remodeled homes that were discovered by our appraiser did not have a city-issued building permit. And I think that that is an interesting correlation that you are now drawing, that in fact our permit fees were down by about 300,000. And I don't know if that will be, so in other words, I think to some degree, permitting was down in 2020, not necessarily because people weren't doing things. I think they very much were, but they were not securing permits. And that probably was due to COVID, the whole lack of securing permits. So hopefully that ship will right itself during this current year. But I just wanted to point that out because I think it's very interesting that our appraiser did in fact uncover that exact information. So thank you, Commissioner Markley.
So here, so the following slides are kind of taking one special department, and well, these are, this is just planning and urban design, and that's because there were quite a few adjustments made, and so I've given it its own slide. Okay, that's what I was trying to say. So our new planning director, who is on the call, if you could elevate him, he would be probably happy to talk in more detail about these fees. But generally, all of the fees were increased by cost of living, except for these italicized sections where an additional adjustment was made. All right, and is the planning director on the call? Gunner, is Gunner on?
He's in the attendee area, so he needs to be promoted. He has his hand raised.
Wonderful, wonderful. I think he would like to speak to these.
All right. It looks like he is moved over and ready to go.
Thank you, Gunner.
Sure. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
At the beginning of the pandemic last spring, we all kind of sat down and looked at all of the reviews as Ms. Von Enken had mentioned earlier. I think one of our thoughts was the time that had elapsed since the last update of our fees had been quite some time. And instead of digging into, and we were trying to move quickly back in the spring, so instead of digging in and trying to do a comprehensive assessment, we just sort of looked directly to rate of inflation over that time and applied a general 5% increase over everything. That didn't raise the fees any. We did do a peer city review to confirm that we weren't out of whack after those potential increases. We're still below or at the same level as all of our peer cities in both Kansas and Missouri in the region, quite frankly. But we did look directly at, Johnson County, Lenexa, Overland Park, and Leawood, I think were the 4 on the Kansas side that we looked at. And then specifically, we just had some issues, as Ms. Von Aiken mentioned here, for some of these other ones. A lot of this work had no fees previously. So we tried to apply a fee, sometimes nominally, landmarks in particular, never had fees. So we only charged, I think we're looking at 25 or 50 bucks for a review. Again, in the spirit of recouping some of the cost for our time. It certainly takes a lot longer than $25 of staff time to review a landmark environs, for instance, and we do those quite often, but we felt because they come in so often that we needed to start somewhere, and I think that was a part of it. The other one I would maybe point out specifically, and then happy to take questions again as a part of this agenda item, the publication fees in particular. We were just noticing during, as we were reviewing everything, that the publication fee of $50 didn't come anywhere near what it is required to post on average in the Wyandotte Echo. They're much closer to $100 or more. And we looked at those averages over the last couple of years and came to the conclusion of $125. We've been applying that $125 publication fee since last July. And that's also was a part of the publication fee increase was, if you remember last summer, because of Kansas case law, we had determined that all, not just change of zones and vacations, but all special use permits also needed to be published to become legal. So that basically doubled our the amount of publications we've been doing in the last half a year. And so that was what we did for publications. We could move those up to $125. But I'm happy to take any questions about anything else. Now or later, I guess. Since I don't want to. Sorry, Kathleen, I didn't mean to get into your.
No, now would be great. All right. Since there aren't any questions on planning, I'll move on to the next one, which is the Neighborhood Resource Center. So I just wanted to make it clear that all of the Neighborhood Resource Center fees still remain at the 2020 level, except for occupational taxes or occupational license fees. And those were increased based on the ordinance that they follow every year, and they were increased by 1.4%, which is the CPI. So all of these fees remained the same. Now there was a category added under building permits because there was only building permits from 1 million and below, and there was no category for 1 million and above. So we added a category for 1 million and above. And then there was in addition, the plan review fee was added under building permits. But for the rest of them, they were all remain the same. Now, I do have a slide, I think, coming up. Yeah, I have a slide coming up that shows which fees across the UG were administratively put on hold during the COVID period, not only during 2020, but also 2021. And some of these fees were actually administratively put on hold. So happy to answer any questions on these fees if you have any. Okay.
Greg Talkin has his hand up in the attendee area. He would need to be promoted.
That would be very nice. Thank you so much.
And then Commissioner Philbrook has her hand raised to ask a question. Commissioner?
So on this, I'll direct you to page 31 is my first my first hit. That's about coin-operated amusement. It's about a third of the way down. And it says $75 for that fee. Does that mean that that is $75 per machine
Yes, Commissioner.
per
And
year?
It's $75 per each machine that they license.
Okay, so a big place that, and I'm not going to name it, but it out west, would be paying quite a bit of money to us. But then we have a lot of mom and pop places that have been hit hard by COVID, and I believe that we charge more. I don't have all the data in front of me, and so I'm going to. But the data on how much places around us, areas around us, are charging per machine just to those areas like the bowling alley, just to have those machines, but not, I'm saying. And so, or how much are they charging? Because if it's $75 a machine, per month in a little company, that makes a big difference. $75 is, you have 5 or 6 of them, then you multiply that by 12. So that's a good chunk of change. So that's on page 31. I'd like that we look at those. And then I have a question on page 35, and this is more a question for clarification down toward the bottom of it on the coin op amusement stuff. I'm imagining that on the coin op amusement device distributors, that's just a license to be able to do business, and then on this license, is that per device, or is that, what is that?
Okay. So going back on the coin operated amusement licenses, the ones that we charge per device within a business.
Mhm.
We do know we're out of line with a lot of the other communities around us. We have placed, this is one of them that we placed on administrative hold. We've held the checks, and we've only received 8 so far this year because they don't review annually, they review on their anniversary. So
Okay.
we're holding those right now and part of what we take out of this meeting tonight, as well as other meetings that we've got planned with the finance director and administration, we plan on bringing a recommendation forward for potentially adjusting those fees downward.
Okay. Okay. I appreciate that, Greg, that feedback, because, we don't want to run our little businesses out of our area. And people do enjoy playing on these devices, having a beer and playing pinball. So, hey, we don't want to run folks out. We want to keep our folks here. And then on this license, is that per device, down on 35?
So really, that's kind of a typo. It's the same, it should have been $75, and it's actually the same thing as the coin operated amusement, where it says coin operated device license. That's the same thing.
So so that is per device. That's the same thing as the other one is. Okay. And then when it says a coin amusement device parlor, what does that?
So we have no parlors anymore. The last example that we recall having one was Fun Factory in Indian Springs, where they do nothing but have amusement devices in there. Nothing else business like food and drink like some of the other ones do.
Right.
We do not have one currently that pays an OCC tax, and that's an OCC tax charge for that.
Okay. And so then the device rental, that's just the company that rents it out?
Those are the companies that rent the machines to, like your other, the bowling alleys and the other game places. Yes.
All right. And so that's just a license, a business license that allows them to rent those devices.
Right. It's an OCC tax, and we currently have 16 of those registered.
Okay. Okay. I know I'm getting down into the weeds, but like we say in optometry, it's not rare if it's in your chair. So if you're one of those businesses that have these issues, it's important to you. I appreciate that. I also just want to ask a question on here, it says golf course per month. What is that?
I can't answer that. I've not seen that one.
I'm just trying.
So what page is that one on?
It's on page 40, about a third of the way down. It says golf course per month.
Is that for the NRC department?
It's under NRC. Don't know what the golf course. Of course, I do know that am I assuming wrong that the golf course is one of the few things under Parks and Rec that actually are in the black?
Well, there are other private golf courses too, so that's probably what that's about.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Well, there are private golf courses, not the one run by.
Okay, so this is just for them to so if they operate only 9 months out of the year, then they're only paying a certain amount it's per month that they're open and operating. Is that it?
Well, I don't know. Greg's looking at it. So.
Yeah, I'm trying. Here we go. Sorry about that. I will follow up for clarity, but I would say the way this is wrote, you are correct. That it would be per month that they would pay their fee.
Okay, all right, and that's any golf course. What happens with Sunflower since they're under us?
They would be exempt.
They'd be exempt. Okay, all right, thank you. And I do hold strong to my comment about some people get confused about our golf course, and it's, I think, the only thing in our Parks and Rec that is in the black. I may be wrong about that, Kathleen, but okay. She's smiling.
Well, for the past 5 years, we've had to transfer general fund money to the golf course in order to make ends meet. So
okay. Well,
but
so
this past year, in 2020, was a boom year for Sunflower Hills Golf Course. And I think it's because people had a little more time on their hands and went and played golf during COVID.
Okay.
And for some more tournaments and stuff too. So.
Okay. All right. Great. So I'll ask more questions about that at some other time, Kathleen. And I think that although I have other things marked in pink, I don't think it's anything I need to ask questions of. I appreciate you guys addressing my questions. Thanks so much.
Yeah, so just to follow up a little bit on what Greg was saying. So the thing is, this is it's a schedule to list all the fees we have. So I decided that is the fee for some of these items, even though we have administratively put them on hold because of COVID. It's still a fee that we have. So.
Right.
That's why it's in there.
Thank you.
Bynum, do you have questions?
Oh, I have a follow-up question on the coin-operated amusement machines. I think I understand that those would include both the machines at the casino, correct? Along with the games at Dave & Buster's or our bowling center. Am I right about that?
Commissioner, these would not cover the casinos. Casinos are state regulated.
They pay something different and not to us, it sounds like.
I believe so.
Okay, so does this also govern the machines that you find in the bar or at the gas station?
Yes, and as long as they're a legal machine, yes.
Okay, so do we happen to know, do we know offhand if those machines are paying?
We lost you, Commissioner.
I'll try again. Can you hear me?
Can you hear Kathleen?
It's just an offhand.
We've lost Commissioner Bynum.
Okay.
Commissioner, I can still hear you. I maybe Kathleen that is having internet issues.
Commissioner Merkley, the question is whether we know if the locations that have the machines are consistently and regularly paying the fee.
Okay, Kathleen, I don't know if you heard Commissioner Bynum, but she wants to know whether we know if the licensees are consistently and regularly paying for their machines. I think that's the question.
Yes, we believe they are paying. And we do have staff that do go out, investigate those when we get complaints.
I can't hear.
Not only of machines that maybe haven't paid their amusement, coin-operated amusement device payment, but also we don't directly investigate, but we do go out and look. A lot of times we get inquiries about machines that might not be legal, that they're actually paying dollars back some way, somehow, that makes them a casino device. And those staff works and turns over to PD and or the State Gaming Commission.
Commissioner Ramirez and I have both become aware of some of those situations. Commissioner Bynum, did that answer your question?
It did, thank you.
Commissioner Markley, I can't hear anything.
Yeah,
I'm not sure why. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Sorry, I don't know what's happening.
Kathleen is having audio issues. She may need some advice if anyone from staff is able to reach out to her. In the meantime, are there other questions? Have we got all the commissioners that had their hands up with questions for staff on these items so far? I don't know how many. Looks like we got a few slides left at least. We might just have to give it a minute and see if Kathleen can get her audio working, unless somebody else knows what slides are coming up and can dive in on her behalf.
Hey, Angela, it's Commissioner Philbrook.
Go ahead.
Could we go ahead and talk a little bit more about the issue I brought up? I think that's what Merle Bland wants to talk about.
Okay.
Come in at this point since we're waiting for her to come back up.
Sure. I think Merle is in the attendee area. He would need to be promoted. He does have his hand up.
Thank you.
Oh, he was here and then, oh, there he is. Merle, do you have a question about this item?
Yes, our business west.
Hello. All right. So I'm back on. Can someone speak so I can hear you?
Can you hear me, Kathleen?
I can't hear you. If you can hear me, I'll just continue to present.
Hold on, just hold on a minute. Go ahead. Go
But
ahead.
I won't be able to answer any questions.
Hold on just a minute. Merle, go ahead.
Yes. This amusement machine.
Okay, I'm going to continue. Is that okay? No. Okay. Oh.
This amusement machine tax is unfair to people in Wyandotte County. I checked with.
You still there, Merle? We may be having broader audio problems. Merle, are you still there?
I'll call him.
Okay. In the meantime, we'll somehow try to get Kathleen to move through the slides again. We can get her attention.
Okay.
Good.
Okay. All right. I'll start. I'll go ahead, even though I can't hear you. Sorry.
Okay.
All right. So the next one is the Parks and Recreation fees. Now, these are the same fees that we presented to you last year. And so here, in italics, you're going to see the adjustments that were agreed upon last year. But everything else is pretty much the same as it was in 2020. All right. So the difference is Davis Hall, the weekend rate was increased by 150 for both residents and non-residents. And Sunflower Hills, we actually have increased most of the fees related that include a cart. So the green fees plus the cart was increased by $2. That was based on a preliminary review by our golf court contract manager. But
Hey, Merle,
we have
put yourself
recently,
on mute.
oh, now I can hear you. I don't know why. I just heard Commissioner Philbrook.
Sorry.
So we have the golf course manager has recently gone into, or we've entered into a new lease with the golf carts that is quite a bit more expensive than it has been in the past. So we're still having discussions with him about increasing the golf course or the golf cart fee by more than $2. But right now we have it listed at $2. And then the dock fees and the uncovered slip fees were increased by $150 for residents and $225 for non-residents. And that was what was agreed upon previously. Are there any questions on parks? Because I think Angel is on the call if you want to ask any questions about the Parks and Recreation and golf. Yeah, no.
Commissioner Mike Kane.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Are we going to raise the carts by $2 or what? For the golf course.
Okay, I'm going to continue. Is that all right or no?
Oh, she still can't hear.
No.
Let me see. Is Angel on here?
Just keep going.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see if anybody on staff can answer that question before we get off. But it does not look like Angel is on the attendee list. All right. If we can get Kathleen's attention, we'll get her going again. And then commissioners, we might just try to hold questions till the end if she can't hear us, and then at least she'll have wrapped up and we can do all of our questions in one fell swoop. So, you okay, Kathleen?
Okay.
Sign language.
So the rest of the slides are just the remaining departments that have where no adjustments have been made. So building and logistics, that no adjustments were made and that is based on what was published in 2020. All right. The district attorneys, these are the fee categories he charges, and all of those remain the same. Community corrections, the housing arrest daily fee has remained at $10 a day. Elections, all of those fees have remained the same. All of the health department fees are the same. The historical museum, which were approved by the advisory board, those are the same. All the motor vehicle registration fees are the same, but they're set by statute. So municipal court. So municipal court last year, what you're seeing in your packet right now is what was published last year. But after conversations with our judge, she is proposing to make a few adjustments, basically realigning how they're, it's actually how they appear in the presentation. Plus she's requesting that 2 fees be eliminated. But the copy that you have in front of you does not eliminate those fees yet. So those are adjustments that we'll be incorporating in the final report that we're going to be publishing on our website. And I do believe the judge may be on the call, so she might want to talk a little bit further. about this? Is she on the call?
Doesn't look like it.
No. Okay. So Register of Deeds is, those are all the same. Transit, of course, those are all the same. But in addition, a lot of those have been waived because of COVID, which is the next slide I'm going to talk with you about. And then Unified Government Clerk, those public information requests have been left the same as 2020. So, so there was a slide in here for, so I thought I had incorporated a slide that showed that the fees that have been administratively on hold due to COVID, but apparently I don't have that slide in this presentation version. So those fees were all approved by you in the past about a year ago, and actually they were reviewed again in December. So if your memory serves you, then you'll probably remember what those are. But Transit hasn't been charging any fees during this whole COVID period, except for one additional fee that they started back in 2020. So, all right. So generally speaking, this is basically all of the comprehensive fee schedule is found on this website here in our finance department financial reports section. And you can see it right here, comprehensive fee schedule. If you want to go there, that's where we're going to be posting it. And that's the end of my presentation. Thank you for your patience. I'm sorry that I can't hear you.
Okay. Merle, we'll jump back to you for your comments at this time.
Yes, can you hear me now?
I can.
Good. I made a pretty extensive study of neighboring cities as to the fees that they would charge for amusement machines. And Lenexa, Leavenworth, Lansing, Olathe, and Parkville. And I only found one city that charged a fee, and that was the city of Shawnee, and that was only $20. The $75 fee is completely out of line and really puts it to a disadvantage to a small operator. And I would suggest it should be eliminated.
Thank you, Merle. Mike Kane?
I agree with Merle 100%. We just came back from a virus. We just now opened the restaurants and the bars where they could get more people in there. There's not enough people in there now to keep them open. I think we should remove the fee until we get back on our feet. And if we do put it back on there, it's in excess. I mean, when my kids were little, we'd go to the bowling alley, they'd hang on those games all day long. There's not enough monies out there right now. And then when you have a vendor, some vendors are walking away from the bowling alley saying, no, I'm not paying that much money. So I believe that we should remove that until further notice, until the bars are 100%, and even wait a year after they're 100% so they can get back on their feet.
Commissioner Bynum?
Kathleen did indicate to Commissioner Kane's earlier question on the golf cart fees that yes, the $2 increase on cart rental is anticipated.
Thank you.
Does the pro know that at the golf course?
I don't know, but I can ask her.
We might have to wait for a text chain to get that answer back. So answer pending. Commissioner Philbrook, I think you had your hand up as well.
Yes, I just wanted to share that I was just informed that the vendor did pull out of the bowling alley and they had to purchase their own machines. And that's, I would think, because the vendors weren't making any money off those machines, you know, to split with anybody. So they ended up having to buy their own machines. So yeah, it has created a hardship. And I just wanted to share with that with you, Mike.
Can we make a motion to kill that until further notice? The
Well,
fees
they're
on the
holding it.
contingency?
They are holding it now, aren't they? I think was saying. Greg, you want to talk to that again? I'm sorry to jump in on you, Angela, but.
No, you're fine.
We are currently holding those. When we receive checks on those that those are making, we are not cashing them. We are keeping them and notifying that they're on hold until we determine where we're taking this fee.
So it sounds like there's already sort of action or lack of action being taken on that front. This item tonight, I believe, is for information only. So I don't know, Misty, I don't know if we should just sort of wait and the staff's going to report back to us if and when a change is going to take place. But this item is not listed for action tonight.
That's correct, Commission. It's just for information only. So that could be a matter that we took up later more formally.
Commissioner Merkley, Kathleen did indicate that the golf pro at Sunflower is aware of and did approve of the increase.
Christian Ramirez has got a hand up.
Oh, Commissioner Ramirez, thank you. Commissioner Phil.
Thank you, Commissioner Markley. I just wanted to briefly voice my support for the action that Commissioner Kane brought up. I believe that's something administration and staff should look at to temporarily suspend for some time, based on the reasons that Commissioner Kane gave. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, it sounds like staff is already reviewing that. And so I would just request that staff report back to this committee on that item as far as whether and to what extent and for how long we're going to continue with that suspension. Any other questions before we move on to our next agenda item? I'm not seeing any hands. All right, well, thank you to all of the staff members, and certainly got awkward when Kathleen lost audio, but we stumbled through. And I'm sure if we have additional questions offline, Kathleen would be happy to answer those. So that item was for information only. As mentioned, there's no vote on that item. We will hear back a report on the coin operated fee in the future. So item number 2 for us is an update on CARES Act funding, and Crystal is here to report. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. As Commissioner Markley said, my name is Crystal Sprague. I'm the CARES Act lead, which is a title that will shortly leave me, I believe. But for tonight, I'm the CARES Act lead, and we are here based on our continued commitment to provide monthly updates regarding the CARES Act stimulus funds and how they were spent in our community. So I'm going to share my screen for a brief presentation tonight. And Commissioner Markley, if you'll acknowledge, thank you.
Yep.
So tonight, as our updates near the end of our project, we wanted to make sure we're reminding this group where this endeavor started with the unified government and the CARES Act. It started in earnest with Mayor Alvey at the beginning of, I believe it was May, when he started to draw together a spark planting subcommittee here locally made up of the names that you see here on the screen. These 9 folks that were in it from the beginning were really the backbone and set the stage for everything that happened with our CARES Act initiatives from that point on. We wanted to make sure, and the Spark subcommittee here wanted to shepherd this process through and maximize our response as well as our impact. A step that they took early on was to select prioritization items where they knew they wanted to make sure that they were responding to our community and the crisis that we were in with COVID-19 in the areas that were going to be most impactful to our community. So the planning team established these prioritization areas, these 5 areas here that you see, and the dollars were distributed accordingly within those areas. The total amount awarded through the CARES Act funding for round 1 stimulus package was $37,330,000. And those dollars were to be spent by, at first, we thought the end of the year of 2020, and then to be extended for a short time thereafter. As of our February 2021 report, we had successfully spent 96% of that award allocation. It had been fully utilized, with the balance of that close to 4% remaining encumbered for services and goods pending invoice reconciliation. So our report was due, commissioners, at the end of March, at the beginning of March for the end of February's reporting period. So we have many resources that were used up through the extension that the state of Kansas allowed us to have, which was March 1. We had many services that were critical to extend through that March 1 at midnight deadline. And those were services that were ranging from vaccination site workers to sanitation workers that we have on contract, and other types of services that were either being utilized through March 1 into that next month or utilized up to that point. So we do have about 4% that is still outstanding and encumbered. So we believe that we will have a successful 100% spend down when we conclude our reconciliation process. Last time we met, we did address $98,000 that was left unspent by subrecipients. That $98,000 per the subcommittee's direction was divided by the approved population formula adopted by the commission back in August. And it was divided with $60,000 being reissued to Bonner Springs, or the city of Bonner Springs, and a little over $34,000 being reissued to the city of Edwardsville. We did allocate $3,864 of the unspent subrecipient funds for the extended administration that the CARES team needed to undergo to meet the new reporting deadline. So to compare our response to other communities and counties, we did share this slide with you last month when we gave you an update, but I thought it was really important to bring back to you, as we continue to see lots of media coverage on how communities are responding, particularly right now, to vaccination of our community. I think it's important to remember that the planning committee, the Spark Planning Committee appointed by the mayor, made public health response here in Wyandotte County one of their primary areas of priority. And that shows when you look across the rest of the state, and we have 5 selected here, 5 other communities selected here, both small and large, or similar to us, you can see how we stack up against those other communities. And so this was based on spending through December. The Wyandotte County percentage has been adjusted through February, but we don't expect the percentages to change a great deal amongst the various organizations. And the buckets don't exactly match up. For example, when you look at higher education and K-12 education was split out by a lot of the communities across the county, across the state. Here in Wyandotte County, we looked at education as one bucket. So the buckets don't exactly line up, but it gives you a pretty good idea of how our subcommittee prioritized areas of spending so that we could respond in the way that Wyandotte Countyans needed response to COVID-19. And again, I want to draw attention to that public health care provider and services percentage that Wyandotte County set aside. So important for the response to meet the need in our community. An asterisk here that I provided last month was a reminder that early on, as we were dividing dollars up into those buckets for response, whether that be to community services, 501c3s, or medical response, many of the communities across the state hadn't even seen a case yet. Where we here in Wyandotte County, we were getting the brunt of the COVID-19 response effort here, and we responded accordingly. So the good thing about the CARES Act dollars in round 1 was it really allowed tailored investment in the area. And so we were very thankful to see that tailored investment ability here within Wyandotte County. So where are we at today with our final CARES Act wrap-up activities? We did have a close of eligible spending for the period ending March 1. It did carry over to an additional month. We did complete our report to the Recovery Office for the February reporting period. That does leave us some final reconciliation to do for March and April. We are hoping to have a process evaluation completed through March and April so that we can reflect back what we did well in this process, what we could have improved upon, and we hope to engage our subrecipients and our jurisdictional partners in being able to gauge that process. And then, of course, we're wrapping up our files and folders, be it electronically, we're wrapping up all those files and folders so that we're prepared for any type of audit, which we assume will happen throughout the year of 2021. So we had a reminder here that the CARES Act was just one piece in the federal stimulus packages that came over the period of response and recovery, which continues today to COVID-19. The first piece being the CARES Act, which we are providing you an update on tonight. The second being HR 133 that wrapped up our year in 2020. And this was dollars allocated to existing programs. And the third being the American Rescue Plan, which was just signed some 9 days ago. We don't have a whole lot of impact when it comes to the HR 133 bill, but it is important for us to bring back public information. So while dollars did not come directly to the unified government or Wyandotte County or our local jurisdictional partners, we do know that our residents are eligible for programs under this dollar allocation. One of those eligible areas for assistance that is available through the state of Kansas, that existing program that was there prior to and then expanded upon with dollars received from HR 133, is the Kansas Emergency Rental Assistance, or KERA program, administered through the Kansas Housing Authority. Last time we spoke, we knew this application was coming. We thought it would cover some lost income when it comes to emergency rental assistance, as well as utility. Today, we have a better idea and the application process is open. So our goal today is to provide information to you commissioners, but also to the public that this application is open and available to anybody who might need these services. So to find this application, you would want to go to the Emergency Rental Assistance Program, or KERA, for the state of Kansas. Now, I will say that several of our community agencies are poised to assist citizens with this application process. This is not an easy application process, and it does require an electronic application. We are glad to say that there was a response almost immediately from some feedback locally that that application is available in Spanish. We do not know if it will be available in other languages to meet all of our citizens, but we've asked for that availability. So those community agencies have stepped forward, raised their hand, and said, hey, Kansas Housing Authority, we want to help. We want to be able to be ready to assist our residents here in Wyandotte County. And we've even had a college raise their hand for assistance and say, hey, we can even set up a tech lab if needed. So please know that several of our community agencies are working together with the Kansas Housing Authority. They are working in the benefit, or to benefit, our local constituents, but this application is out there. You don't need to, as a citizen, work with one of those community partners directly. You can apply. So if you're a landlord, you can apply for this eligibility to access emergency rental or utility assistance. If you're a tenant, you can start this process as well. Just want to warn you that there are lots of steps to go through to prove that you've not received funding for any other from any other source, and that you are in the situation that you're in due to COVID-19 issues. But the money is there, and we want to encourage as many Wyandotte Countyans that need those dollars that have been affected by COVID-19 to get online, apply, or contact some of our community agencies like the United Way or Avenues to Life to see if we can get access to those fundings for you. We also had a little additional information about the Kansas Evictions Prevention Program, which was funded through the state of Kansas in the first round of CARES Act funding. They did let us know that we had 315 households here in Wyandotte County that were found or deemed eligible by application for those dollars, and some $806,000 of rental and utility assistance did come to local houses here in Wyandotte County from that first round of funding through the Kansas Eviction Prevention Program. So Lastly, or second to last, we do have the American Rescue Plan. Like I said, it was just signed 10 days ago. It's still new, and the speed at which we are receiving additional information is similar, commissioners, to the speed at which we were hearing new information come through when it came to the first CARES Act. But what we want you to know is that the spend window is more generous in these dollars, and this time will allow the CFO and county administrators to really sit down and be strategic about how they are absorbing the rules and the requirements and guidelines around these dollars, and what is the best path to recommend moving forward. So lastly, I want to mention, since this might be one of the last available times that I have to recognize this team that has gone off into their own areas, is I want to make sure that we're recognizing that in 4 months, this group of folks up here at the top really moved mountains to get dollars out into the community so that our county, our citizens, and our departments could move mountains to respond to COVID-19. So this is really a first-class, A-class team that was put together, and each one of them had a role to play. They each brought their skills to the table, where we might not be nurses and doctors, and we might not be able to, set up social distancing guidelines in the community. What this team did was use their skills and agilities to be able to respond and help our community partners move forward when it came to the COVID-19 pandemic. But I also want to mention the other departments that helped us along the way. The procurement team, and this is an astronomical number, but they processed 347 POs in the last 3 months of the year, just so that the CARES Act money could be facilitated within our organization, but also externally to our subrecipients. The accounting team handled thousands of transactions when they are normally handling a ton of transactions at the end of the year. The budget team set up a full budget in a matter of a month so that the CARES Act team could do their jobs. Whenever anybody does anything in local government here, when it comes to the unified government, the building logistics team is involved somehow. So not only were they trying to prepare buildings to be sanitized and cleaned, but they were also helping everybody else on all their other projects. And the Department of Technology was setting up vaccination sites, pivoting our organization to remote business, responding to increased security risks, which is something that unfortunately we've seen happen at the Kansas Department of Labor. But they were also taking 2,000 extra pieces of equipment that CARES Act allowed us to purchase for remote working and installing those and teaching people how to use them. So really, it's been a group effort, and I can't say how much I appreciate this team enough. Some innovations that we were able to, or this team was able to put together to make these dollars flow as fast as they did, were e-signatures on MOUs, vendor registration, which was all done electronically, e-applications or electronic applications that were done all remotely by our subrecipients and our departments, as well as electronic submissions of all the reports that we had available for our subrecipients. So lastly, commissioners, this could be my last update for the CARES Act team, but I wanted to make sure that we had an ability to ask, do you have a desire to continue monthly CARES Act updates, or is this the drawdown to our activity?
Well, I think some of that may depend on what information continues to flow in about what resources are available and whether there is material to provide update either to the public or to the commission. So I'm not opposed to having you come and visit us again if there's information to share, but also I don't want you to have to spend your Monday night with us if there really isn't anything new. So I think you and staff certainly can make that determination. And we definitely did have an amazing team working this effort, and though they may not have the CARES Act team title anymore, we're also glad to have those gold stars back in their departments doing great work for us there. So we've been very, very lucky. Also, we've learned some things, as you were saying. We learned a lot about how to do things electronically, and those are skills that we can take forward to use through the rest of the COVID battle and then beyond, which is amazing. Commissioner Philbrook, did you have something?
Yeah, I just wanted to tell Crystal, as usual, how proud I am of the team that the UG put together. It was pretty phenomenal. Not only that, you still have information coming forward to you that I believe needs to be shared with the community. Something as simple as people who try to get money back through the state and file for this money that's available. It's quite, I understand that there'll be probably quite a few people that are going to need some assistance in doing this because there's a lot of document upload and it's yeah. So Avenue of Life and the putting themselves together with some other partners to try to get this taken care of. And I don't know exactly where all their money's coming from, but if anybody's listening and wants to donate some to help these folks, I'm more than happy to have you directed toward those, toward those groups. But yeah, Crystal, if you don't mind, as you keep hearing about these things coming forward from the state and the federal government, if you could come back to us once in a while and let us know. So if there's something that we need to do as commissioners or community, we can be part of that solution.
Certainly, and rest assured that we'll be sharing that with our strategic communication director. We'll be posting that publicly, sharing that with our subrecipients. We now have this great network of subrecipients we can send information out to. But absolutely, and I know that, again, that American Rescue Plan is different on its face for what it will look like in its distribution, and it provides the CFO and the administrators just a lot more room to put together some strategy. Not that I thought we had bad strategy, but we just had to have fast strategy. So this will be a little bit different, but yes, absolutely. We've made it a point to create a relationship with the Kansas Housing Corporation, particularly around this KIRA initiative, because we know how important it's going to be, and while we might not be playing a financial or an organizational role, we can definitely play a publication role.
Well, so how many households that were given money? So those are that many households that are not having to live out of their cars or elsewise. So Thank you, Crystal.
Does anyone else have comments? I'm not seeing any hands, but if any of the other commissioners have questions, now is your moment. Crystal, we once again just appreciate you, and certainly, although this may be the last time you present as the CARES Act team lead, we expect to see you around doing great things elsewhere in the organization. So, all right, thank you very much. We will move along to our final item of the evening. That was for information only. Also, our final item this evening is the blue sheet item, the item that was added. It is the COVID-19 Expanding Infrastructure Grant, and Wes McCain, and it looks like Julianne as well, are here to present. Thank you for your patience as we got through this meeting this evening. Go right ahead.
Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you all of you for letting us try to fast track this. So this is preemptive fast tracking. We have not been awarded this grant yet. We have submitted this grant to KDHE in hopes that we will actually know by next week if we get awarded, and we'll receive the funds slightly after, very soon after that. So this money is about $923,000. It's given to, or the RFP was put out by KDHE. We anticipate that we will receive that much money. It's largely breakdown based on population size. And so that's how we ended up with the $923,000 that's potential money for us. This is really kind of supporting a lot of the work that we're already doing. So helping us to make sure that we have COVID project managers that can stay on their projects. We brought someone on who's really taking the lead on our transportation work to make sure people can get to vaccine sites. Our health equity project coordinator. This is going to support a number of community health workers that are dispersed across the county. So it's fantastic, the ability, the flexibility that KDHE is giving us with this funding to really figure out what we need to do in terms of our ongoing testing and surveillance, as well as the vaccine effort, and use the money as we see fit. So there is no match required for this at all. And again, just appreciate fast tracking it so we can get the money in the door and start using it as quickly as we can.
Questions from any commissioners?
Commissioner Mike Kane, move for approval.
And Commissioner Kane, can you specify that you're moving for approval with the fast track?
With the fast track.
Thank you very much. I'll take a second.
Commissioner Philbrook, second.
All right, a motion and second have been made. Roll call, please.
Roll call. Philbrook,
Aye.
Kane,
Aye.
Ramirez,
Aye.
Bynum,
Aye.
Markley.
Aye, thank you very much. Thanks, Julianne and Wes. And that concludes our meeting for this evening. Thank you, everyone, and thank you for your patience through our technical difficulties. I appreciate it. Have a good evening.